Do you believe that power is found in the clamor of voices, in the ferocity of shouts, in the heat of arguments? The one who raises their voice and asserts their presence is often seen as the victor, but they have deceived you. They have led you to think that the world is ruled by those who refuse to be silent, when in truth, genuine power resides in the art of knowing when to remain mute. Have you noticed how often you scramble to justify your existence? How many times you feel compelled to respond, to correct, to defend your perspective, as if your very soul hangs in the balance? You may think that in doing so, you exhibit intelligence, strength, and control, but the reality is far more sinister. Each time you speak without necessity, you reveal your own fragility. Silence is the weapon of those who truly grasp the dark intricacies of the game. For the silent one observes, the silent one analyzes, the silent one commands. Those who cannot embrace silence are shackled by their own egos, enslaved by an insatiable need to be acknowledged, and that, rather than being a display of power, is a mark of weakness. Consider this: in every clash, in every verbal duel, there exist two kinds of souls. The first is the one who reacts, swept away by emotion, speaking without thought. That is the one who ultimately falls, even if they believe otherwise. The second is the one who listens, who allows the other to exhaust themselves, who chooses their words with chilling precision. The one who prevails is the one who understands this. Socrates recognized this long ago. He didn't force his views or raise his voice. Instead, he posed questions, instilled doubt, and allowed others to ensnare themselves. Steve Jobs utilized silence to ensure that each of his words held significant meaning. The famed samurai Miyamoto Musashi realized that true combat is not about wielding a sword, but rather about patience, strategy, and mastering one's emotions. Yet, many fail to grasp this concept. Most individuals talk excessively. They believe that speaking loudly conveys strength, when in reality, it merely reveals their vulnerabilities. Each additional word offers insight into who you are, what you fear, and what frustrates you. In the real world, sharing information equates to relinquishing power. Observe the most influential figures. They are not the loudest voices, but those who speak when it matters. They pause, allowing silence to convey their message. They can withstand the emptiness without discomfort, for therein lies the secret. Many dread silence, and hastily fill it with words, as it makes them feel uneasy. However, the one who masters silence holds power over those who fear it. Reflect on any argument you've had. What might have occurred if, rather than reacting, you had chosen to remain silent? If you had allowed the other person to exhaust themselves, drowning in their own words, and revealing too much, you may have come to understand that often the best response is to say nothing at all. Frequently, allowing the other person to express themselves is the most effective way to diffuse tension. Yet, here's the part that often goes unspoken: silence is not just a means of controlling others. It is also a means of mastering yourself. When you can remain quiet, resist your impulses, and decide when and how to act, you possess a strength that surpasses that of most people, who are often prisoners to their emotions. They react impulsively, swept away by anger, frustration, and fear. And in those moments, they forfeit their true power. Real power doesn't lie in winning arguments. It resides in knowing when to avoid them altogether. It's about not getting ensnared in the games of others. It's about observing without being seen, acting unexpectedly, and moving with precision while others are lost in chaos. The bittersweet truth is that when you learn to embrace silence, to wait patiently, and to carefully consider each word you speak, the world begins to truly hear you. Because what is rare holds greater value. What remains unspoken creates an air of mystery, and within that mystery lies power. The next time you feel compelled to speak, pause and ask yourself, is this truly necessary, or could my silence convey so much more? You might be taken aback by the answer, and if you embrace this wisdom, it could alter the course of your life in profound ways. Yet, we must delve deeper. Knowing when to be silent is not enough. Mastering silence alone won't suffice. There exists a more profound concept, one that few grasp: strategic invisibility. It's not merely about your words or the absence of them. It's about the moments you choose to be present and the times you fade away. This may seem peculiar at first, but it holds the key for those who genuinely wield influence. Reflect on the great strategists of history. They were not the ones constantly in the spotlight, nor were they the ones craving attention. Instead, they understood the art of retreating when necessary, allowing others to exhaust themselves in the chaos while they quietly maneuvered in the background. True power lies not with those who are perpetually visible, but with those who can skillfully manage their presence. When you show up too frequently, you risk becoming predictable, a mere routine that loses its significance. Or, when you master the art of disappearing, when your presence becomes a rare gift, you elevate your worth. In this world, where silence often speaks louder than words, the ability to vanish can be both a blessing and a burden. This principle holds true across all areas in business, in relationships, and in life overall. The most esteemed leaders are not those who dominate every meeting with their voices. Rather, they are the ones who speak only when it matters, selecting their moments with precision. Steve Jobs didn't unveil new products weekly. He took his time, and when he did speak, the world paid attention. Miyamoto Musashi avoided unnecessary confrontations, remaining in the background until the perfect moment to act. He dedicated years to quietly developing his ideas, and when he finally revealed them, the world paused. They often fear being forgotten, believing that if they aren't consistently part of the dialogue, they will fade away. To some degree, they are correct. Yet, what they fail to realize is that strategic absence is a powerful tool, not a form of punishment. If you can intentionally step back, knowing when to withdraw and when to reappear, you can shape the narrative. You influence how others perceive you. You cultivate an air of mystery that grants you greater power than those who are always clamoring for attention. This transcends mere silence. It speaks to a deeper struggle for self-control. To vanish with purpose, one must possess a rare quality: patience. In a world that craves immediacy, where everyone yearns for instant results and validation, the true masters of the game grasp a painful truth: time can be a weapon. If you can endure, if you can suppress the impulse to react, if you can strategize for the long haul, while others are swept away by their need for urgency, you've already claimed victory before the conflict even starts. Patience, though often overlooked, is the most profound form of power. While others rush headlong into fleeting desires, you quietly construct something enduring. Patience nurtures control over your instincts, control over your environment, control over how others perceive you. The unsettling truth is that people fear those who remain inscrutable, those who don't respond as anticipated. If someone hurls an insult and you react immediately, they have already triumphed. They've drawn a response, seized control over you. But if you choose silence, if you observe them without flinching, allowing them to drown in their own fury without offering anything in return, do you know what unfolds? They become disoriented. They feel vulnerable because they anticipated resistance. They expected you to defend yourself. Yet when you offer them nothing, when you present them with emptiness, you strip away their power. People despise the void. They crave answers. They seek reactions. They need an echo to affirm their existence. In this relentless pursuit, the weight of silence can feel unbearably heavy. When you learn to withhold your attention and only offer what you choose, you transform into someone they cannot manipulate. This is the essence of true power: being unreachable, not out of concealment, but by deciding when to engage and when to withdraw. You become unpredictable as you master the dynamics of silence, timing, and invisibility. The key question is, can you practice patience? Can you tolerate emptiness without filling it with chatter? Can you vanish when needed and return stronger at the right moment? If you can manage your own presence, you possess something that most will never attain: genuine power. Here's the part that many fail to grasp: mastering patience, silence, and strategic invisibility leads to an unavoidable consequence: magnetism. The harsh truth is this: the more you speak, the less they pay attention. The harder you try to be noticed, the more invisible you become. However, when you become rare and not always accessible, people begin to seek you out. It's psychological. What is scarce, exclusive, and unattainable becomes precious. Those who truly wield power understand this well. Observe any powerful individual. They are not available to everyone. They don't reply instantly. They aren't omnipresent. They are elusive. This very quality makes them desirable. Try this experiment: stop being available all the time. Stop responding immediately. Refrain from sharing every single thought, and you'll notice how people's views begin to shift. Suddenly, you become intriguing. Suddenly, they yearn to learn more about you. Yet, most people do the opposite. They dread silence. They dread absence. They fear that if they fade away, they will be forgotten. What they fail to see is that true influence lies not in being ever present, but in mastering the art of when and how to show up. This principle extends to all aspects of life and relationships, at work, in social circles. The one who is perpetually available, who is always there, who always responds, diminishes in value because what is commonplace becomes overlooked. Conversely, those who are rare become treasured. Consider the most sought-after items in the world. They aren't found on every street corner. They are the elusive ones, the treasures few can access. The same holds true for people. If you give too much of yourself, you risk being consumed and cast aside. But if you manage your presence, if you are discerning, if you control your visibility with careful precision, you become unforgettable. And then comes the painful truth, the manipulation of desire. When you come to realize that scarcity holds true value, you can leverage it to your benefit. You can show up just when they long to see you, speak only when they are yearning for an answer, and act when they least expect it, leaving a profound mark. Yet, to achieve this, you must let go of the need for validation. Most people lack the patience to fade away. They struggle to endure the silence. They crave immediate attention, and in that craving, they falter. The one who understands the desires of others is the one who remains unmoved by fleeting impulses. He is the one who waits, allowing others to spiral in their own uncertainty. It's a cruel truth of nature. What is pursued often eludes, while what withdraws becomes the object of desire. If you are constantly talking, always present, perpetually available, they will never come to miss you. They will never seek you out. They will never appreciate your presence because they have never felt its absence. But if you learn to master your presence, if you vanish at the right moment and return with undeniable force, you transform into someone impossible to overlook. This is the pinnacle of power when you cease to be the one in pursuit and become the one sought after. When you stop yearning for attention and instead receive it without asking. When you are no longer the one chasing dreams, but the one who inspires others to chase you. Yet, in this dance of desire and absence, there lies a bittersweet truth. Sometimes, the very act of retreating can leave a lingering ache in your heart. Do you understand the game? It's the complete opposite of what you've been taught. It's not about speaking more. It's not about being louder. It's not about making a bigger scene. Instead, it's about knowing when to be quiet, when to fade away, and how to become rare in order to be truly valued. So now the question is, do you have the strength to do this? Can you withstand the emptiness without filling it with chatter? Can you step back without the dread of being forgotten? Because those who can manage this are the ones who ultimately hold the reins. This is where we delve into the deepest form of control, the psychological warfare of silence. Silence not only grants you power, not only enhances your worth, not only shrouds you in mystery, it can also be a weapon. Most people remain oblivious to the fact that they are under attack until it's far too late. Let me clarify. When you speak, you reveal information. Each word is a hint about your thoughts, your feelings, what you hold dear. Every reaction exposes your vulnerabilities. Every explanation shows where you've been struck. The weight of silence can be heavy, and the fear of being unheard can linger long after the words have faded. When you choose to stay silent, merely watching from the sidelines, you leave the other person in a state of desperation. They become uneasy, grappling with their own thoughts, because humans are inherently uncomfortable with uncertainty. In any argument, if someone hurls an insult and you react, you give them what they crave: validation, attention, a glimpse into your vulnerabilities. But when you say nothing, when you simply gaze at them without uttering a word, their mind spirals into turmoil. They start to wonder, why isn't he responding? Did I get to him, or does he just not care at all? The cruelest thing you can do to someone seeking a reaction is to withhold it. Silence in a confrontation acts as a mirror. It doesn't show your thoughts, but instead reflects the fears of the other person. When you offer them nothing but emptiness, the only voice they hear is their own. And that's when fear, insecurity, and paranoia begin to take hold. This principle resonates across all aspects of life and negotiations, relationships, conflicts, and every human interaction. Professional interrogators understand this deeply. Often, the most effective way to elicit a confession is not through relentless questioning, but by remaining silent and allowing their own mind to unravel. The discomfort of that void is unbearable for many, driving them to speak, to expose themselves, to justify their actions, and to reveal truths they never intended to share. Those who fail to embrace silence often find themselves unwittingly revealing their deepest fears. And here lies the true horror of patience, a form of psychological torment. The one who wields time holds dominion over another's mind. When someone awaits your reply, each moment stretches into an eternity of dread. They begin to conjure dark scenarios, filling the silence with their own terrors, assuming the worst, even if it's far from reality. The most effective assault is rarely direct. It's allowing the other to spiral into their own uncertainty. Master strategists grasp this truth. They don't need to engage in battles. They don't need to prove their strength. They simply wait. They observe, letting their opponent exhaust themselves in a labyrinth of doubt. Miyamoto Musashi, the fabled samurai, didn't just wield a sword. He mastered the art of waiting. In his duels, he would sometimes arrive late, forcing his adversary to endure hours under the relentless sun, consumed by anxiety and mental fatigue. Before even unsheathing his blade, by the time the clash commenced, his foe had already succumbed. For victory is not claimed by a mere strike. It is won in the shadows of the mind. The most cunning way to triumph without a fight is to let the other person unravel themselves. This dynamic plays out in human relationships time and again. The one who exerts the least effort, who refrains from chasing, who seeks no validation, becomes the one pursued. Why? Because people are drawn to what they cannot control. When someone refrains from seeking our attention, it stirs a deep frustration within us. It ignites an insatiable curiosity. The one who remains aloof, who shuns validation, often becomes the object of pursuit. Why is that? Because we are drawn to what eludes our grasp. Their indifference gnaws at us, compelling us to fill the empty spaces with our darkest imaginings. And therein lies the chilling truth: our imagination conjures horrors far worse than reality. If a message goes unanswered, our minds spiral into a web of sinister possibilities, crafting narratives that are often more terrifying than the truth. In the heat of an argument, silence can be a weapon. It breeds doubt, making us question our words, our impact, and our grip on the situation. In that eerie stillness, the silent one emerges victorious, yet most lack the fortitude to embrace this silence. We inhabit a world where the compulsion to respond, to justify, to reveal oneself is overwhelming, rendering us predictable, easily manipulated, and vulnerable. The true masters of this dark game understand. They need not raise their voices, win every skirmish, or prove their worth. They thrive in the shadows, where power lies in restraint. They simply wait, they observe, and they allow others to undermine themselves through their own desire for validation. True power does not lie in winning debates. It resides in rendering those debates irrelevant to you. It's about opting out of the game and watching others exhaust themselves while you stay whole. Once you grasp this concept, your perspective on human interactions shifts dramatically. You cease to react impulsively, you no longer feel compelled to speak constantly, and you stop succumbing to provocations. And in that moment, when they can no longer manipulate you with their words, when they can't provoke you, and when they can't elicit a response from you, that's when you realize you possess complete control, and the world around you must align with your master pace. This is where everything aligns. If you've reached this point, you already grasp something that most people will never understand. Genuine power isn't about winning arguments, raising your voice, or forcing your logic on others. It's about control, patience, and the ability to let others reveal their true selves without you lifting a finger. However, the crucial question remains: what will you do with this knowledge? Simply knowing it isn't sufficient. Many hear such insights and continue their lives unchanged. They keep reacting thoughtlessly, feeling the need to explain, justify, and seek validation. They remain trapped in the chaos. If you truly desire to stand apart, to ascend to a darker realm of existence, you must weave this into the fabric of your daily life. Begin with something deceptively simple. The next time someone provokes you, resist the urge to react. When the need to justify yourself claws at your insides, embrace the silence. When confronted with an argument, become a mere observer. Say nothing, explain nothing, and let the silence stretch like a shadow, watching as the desperate scramble to fill the void unfolds before you. I assure you, you will witness something unsettling. You will see how people unmask themselves, how they writhe in their desperation to break the stillness. By doing absolutely nothing, you will find yourself wielding an unsettling control. True power has never been about proving a point. It has always thrived in stripping others of their ability to dominate you. In a world consumed by the incessant clamor of voices, silence emerges as a chilling superpower. Those who grasp the sinister game do not exhaust themselves. They refuse to engage in futile skirmishes. They conserve their energy, choosing their moments to speak, to appear, and to act with a calculated precision. They wield time like a weapon, mastering the art of patience. They shape the narrative without uttering a single unnecessary word. This is the chasm that divides the manipulators from the manipulated. So ponder the silence's power. If you've journeyed this far, you are no longer like the rest. You have glimpsed the unseen, and now the choice lies with you. Will you harness this insight, or remain a marionette dancing to the cacophony? Subscribe if you wish to delve deeper into the mind of a strategist. And remember, in this dark game, the one who chooses not to play emerges victorious.